sea across the water, and we'd have to deal with that. Same thing with an island.
Or
we
a
have
city in
outdoor
the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was a lot more complicated.
Yeah. So you came up with the idea of let's do this underwater, let's do this sort of isolated place. Then you had to answer the question of, why would someone build this? Is that sort of how it worked, sort of order of operations? You then had to come up with a story to explain.
Yeah, I think we wanted a very believable reason why they'd be there, and sort of the necessary isolation of the place sort of led to what kind of system we want to do this. And I wasn't even particularly aware of the sort of political implications of what I was reading, but I was reading, I read The Mountainhead by Ayn Rand, and I mostly thought it was an interesting story. Like, I didn't realize that people were sort of basing their sort of political lives around it. I wasn't that tuned in to that stuff at that point. And so, but I love the dialogue and kind of speechifying it, because you can see a video game character speaking with that kind of certainty and that kind of confident philosophy. It just seemed like a natural kind of thing to apply to this place. And so it just sort of all came together as a sort of who is the guy who would do this? Well, that character. It was sort of this amalgamation of characters from Ayn Rand's books and Ayn Rand herself. This sort of idealistic person who says, well, the only way to do this is to separate from the rest of the world. And that led to Andrew Ryan.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone.
We knew from a technical standpoint that we wanted isolation. We also needed to sell it. We needed a compelling storyline, backstory that why would this place exist? Otherwise, how are we going to make Rapture feel like it's lived in if we don't have the reason for it to be there? So once we decided on the underwater location and then the closed-off spaces, that objectivist story kind of came in and made the art stronger and made the level design stronger, because we could feed back into that loop.
I think that's why we had to have sort of Andrew Ryan's pitch right at the beginning of the game. We wanted people to understand why somebody would go there, and so he makes this very personal one-to-one pitch to the gamer, but also that was the pitch you make to people, which was, there's a place that you can be free of all these things, where you could not be sort of put upon by the government, and not be afraid of nuclear war, and not be afraid of all these other things that will plague you on the surface. And we wanted that pitch to sort of resonate and make sense, because that's, otherwise by the time you got there you'd be like, well, this place is just fantasy, nobody would ever come here. And then the beauty of the place was also tied into that. It had to be a very attractive proposition, or people who would believe that people would go leave their lives and go to the bottom of the ocean.
I'm sure somebody you had to convince the team and enroll them in your sort of vision of, who this character was going to be and what the setting was going to be. How did that work? I mean, you can come in and say, hey, I've been reading these books, and I think we could sort of...
What if he just came in one day on a horse and said, Ayn Rand, everybody read the Fountainhead?
Exactly. I bought 30 copies of it.
Yeah, I think,
homework.
Here's a 2,000-page book or something, go read it.
It really is more organic. Like I said, we knew that we had this location, and you struggle to fill it with stories, and you struggle to find meaning of why does this place exist? What's my motivation? And as Ken started to explore Ayn Rand a little more and started talking to us about it, and we were having that conversation, it's like, oh, this could totally work. Like, this is exciting. Like, it's something that really hasn't been done in a video game before. And if we had flipped it and come up with the idea first before the location, I don't think we would have really been that excited about it. But we had a location, and now we're trying to fill it with that story. And because of the order of operation there, you start to get excited, like, oh, I can totally make this work. This is going to really make me feel like I live in space.
As you think of sort of the setting, and you think of maybe characters, was there a moment you think back and like, oh, like right then and there, like I got excitedly attached.
For me, it was going to Rockefeller Center.
Visual.
So I told this story before, but my wife and I were in New York. We went to Rockefeller Center, which was, if you go to Rockefeller Center, it basically looks exactly like Rapture. Because every building, you're sort of encircled. It's this block in New York, or a couple blocks plazas, which used to be that show 30 Rock, and the ice skating rink, and where they put the Christmas tree, and it's this very iconic location. But what's cool about it, it's all one. Unlike the rest of the city, everywhere you look, it's one architectural style. It's Art Deco, and it's a very iconic Art Deco. And my wife and I were there, and we were sort of working on the game. We didn't have a visual style. All of a sudden, I started looking around, and I said, "Oh, this could be a visual for the game." Also, the geometry of it was actually quite conducive to making a video game because it wasn't overly complicated geometry. Art Deco is quite old and geometric. Yeah, it's simple. And so my wife and I bought a couple of tourist cameras before iPhone.
Right.
Cameras, you know.
Throwaway cameras.
Yeah, throwaway cameras, the little Kodak things, and we just started photographing doorknobs and light fixtures, and just sort of developed the photos. Remember that?
And brought them in and said, "Oh, the officers are stacking stuff, Sean. Look,
To you guys in a couple of years, go make this."
Where the artist would not really sense, where the scientist would not be bound by any morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, raptures has become your city as well.
So you had kind of a theme, you came up with an art style, some of the iconic characters, and then you really had to build the narrative around it. And you talked about a lot of the themes in the game, and greed, jealousy, sex, violence, all the things that sort of drive us or what destroy us. And that was something I think that as you thought about the story of the game, you wanted to, I'm sure, reflect some of those, right? Like people love the characters, and sort of flawed in a way, and this is a world which is its own little microcosm, but had a lot of tension inside of it.
Yeah, I mean, the character Ryan was sort of, he's basically invisible for most of the game, right? Except for a very small portion. But he's very present because the city is him, right? It's such a representation of him. We never wanted to cut away to a cutscene where you saw Andrew Ryan, planning, scheming. We wanted him to be very present without actually being present. But once you had Ryan, and once you had his desire to protect this vision of his, you just had to then come up with a character who'd be arrayed in opposition to him. So we had this character Big Daddy, and then eventually the character Little Sister, and so characters like Tenenbaum came along. Here's a person who's in opposition to him for this reason. Then you have, for more noble reasons. And then you have a character like Atlas, who's much more a cynical opposition. Once we had all those characters arrayed, we went, well, who are you? And you ended up being a sort of a pawn in the middle of all this opposition to Ryan. We just kept her homing in on that theme, making sure that you weren't, eventually figuring out that you couldn't just be here by an accident, that you were an integral part of this story, even though you don't know you're an integral part of this story. You think you're just there by happenstance.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's Angel. I can see light coming from his belly. Wait a minute, he's still breathing. It's alright. I know he'll be an angel soon.
That was fucking amazeballs. My ear is seriously itchy right now. Oh. Right. Literally just saw something saying grab something. Oh.
Call that tenderloin. If you serve that in any respectable
Headshot. Huh? Yeah, and your point. What was in the bin? I already checked the bin, didn't I? Yeah, I already checked the bin. Oh, that's still going. Shit. Don't know why it says corpse for. It's a big fucking daddy, dickhead. Whoa! Shit, that's loud. Forgot about my alarm. Dang. Lil. Nope, I ain't going to the toilet, not yet. Fuck, I'm pissed. Again. I saw something red. Oh no, it's just blood. Lol. Yes, yes you are. God dang it. Which other way? Ah! Did we get everything? Awesome. Yo, fuck off, fuck off. What? Oh! I'm going the bloody wrong way, that's why. Shit. Shit.